Welcome back to the Mason and Associates YouTube channel. Again, I'm John Mason, president and financial planner at Mason and Associates. We're financial planners first, and we do this content creation second. We hope you're enjoying it. Those of you who have subscribed, if you like what we're producing, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and the bell notification. That way you receive updates as we release new content. In the prior episode that we'll link below, we talked about how you can pick your retirement date as a FERS or CSRS about to be retiree. So if you missed that one, we'll link it below. Make sure you go there so you can pick a good day to retire, especially if you're thinking of doing it this year. Now, I also mentioned we do our podcast. That's the Federal Employee Financial Planning Podcast. In the description, we're also going to link two episodes, episode 15 and 17, which is the year before retirement and the year of retirement. That's going to be a more in-depth conversation with myself, Tommy Blackburn, and Mike Mason that we think will add to this video and complement what we're showing you today. So we've talked about how you're going to pick that retirement date. We're still thinking of retiring at the end of this year. What other things should we be thinking of? Number one, we want to confirm your service computation date or your service comp date. Most of you, if you look on your leave and earnings statement, it's going to be a box right in the top middle. I think it's maybe number 7, but don't quote me on that. Look in that service comp date box. It says leave SCD, leave service comp date. Now, for most of you, the day you actually started and that leave service comp date are going to be pretty close, if not exact. And we can use that service computation date to determine how many years and months you will have of federal service as you get closer and closer to retirement. Who does this not work for? It doesn't work if you were courted, if you were a special hire where maybe they gave you some credit for leave purposes so you would start accruing more leave quickly. It doesn't work if maybe you had active military service and now you're federal. It is possible that your leave service comp date doesn't line up with your retirement service computation date. So it's important we understand those distinctions. But for most of you, the leave SCD and the retirement SCD should be pretty accurate. Now, unfortunately, the Thrift Savings Plan recently changed their statements in the last 6 to 12 months. If you have version control, or you can go back in time and look at some of those older statements, as a FERS employee, it shows you your vesting date in TSP. And that's a 3-year vesting schedule. So how do we come up with your retirement service comp date if we're not sure? We can use an old TSP statement to look at when you started in TSP and use that to verify your service computation date. So that's a very important thing as we get closer to retirement so we can have an accurate projection of your years and months of credible service. The second thing we want to do leading up to retirement is we want to consider attending a class. At Mason and Associates, we're helping our clients and having these conversations all the time about how to prepare for retirement. But there's something to be said for the camaraderie of going to a retirement class put on by the federal government or the institution that you're with. So we do encourage that. Most of the time, you may not learn something new, especially if you're a client of ours, but it's still good to go in there, get that knowledge, and do a little more preparation as you get ready for retirement. So we've verified our service comp date. We've attended a class. The other thing that we need to be prepared for is that you're going to have potentially a little bit of a gap in pay when you retire. So remember in that previous episode, you retire in December, retirement pay is effective in February, but that's your interim pay. Now folks, that could be anywhere from 70% or 80% of what you're entitled to as low as like 10, 15, 20%. We can't go into all those details today, but here's some good to knows. If you have a divorce decree on file or you've been separated and that ex-spouse is going to receive a marital share of your pension, be prepared for an abnormally long adjudication. Be prepared that your interim pay is not going to be 70 or 80%. It's going to be much lower than that. And you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared for that adjudication to take longer and that lower pay. Most of you who don't have that situation, FERS, CSRS, the adjudication's even different for the two of you. What do I mean by that? Well, CSRS, let's say you have an 80% pension and it's $80,000 a year hypothetically. Well, if you receive 80 or 90% of that, that's a pretty good number. Now we make you FERS and you have that same $80,000 of income, but it's a combination of your FERS and your FERS annuity supplement. It's important to note that the interim pay is only on the FERS component. You do not receive any interim pay based on your supplement. And for many of you, if that's a 30 or 40 year career that you've worked, that's like 70 to 100% of your age 62 Social Security benefit that you receive $0 during that interim status. Don't worry, they will pay you back, but that's something you need to be aware of. 3 months is the short end of adjudication. 6 months is about typical of when you can expect the federal government to have your pension aligned, your full benefits received. And at that point, there's various decisions that we need to make as your financial planners, or you need to make with your financial planning team. The last thing I'll say in this video, you're leading up to retirement, you're retiring at the end of this year. What are a couple other things that we can do? Well, number one, how are we going to generate income once we've retired? Are you dependent on receiving TSP or IRA withdrawals or pulling from savings or what have you? In our experience, TSP withdrawals are not that user-friendly. They're cumbersome. They don't have state taxes withheld. It's not the ideal method to drive income. If you don't already have an IRA, perhaps consider opening an IRA and doing an in-service transfer this year. That way you have those funds out and accessible and ready to drive income once you've retired. Another point here is maybe if you already have enough saved in your thrift savings plan, maybe we lower those contributions to like 5 or 10% and we boost your savings so you have a little more ready access cash this year. Those are a few things we can do leading up to retirement. Remember, we'll link those episodes below to our podcast, episode 15 specifically, which is how to prepare the year before retirement. This has been another episode at the Mason & Associates YouTube channel. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.